Hello everybody, and thank you for joining me again. Today I'm going to be showing you how I make my simple moulds using Polycraft Silicone rubber. I hope you find it really useful, and please leave a comment if you've got any questions. So the first thing you're going to need is something to make a barrier for your mould. Here I'm using the tops that I've cut off plastic cups, and also some foam board which you can make your rectangular or square borders from and glue those together. And I'm also going to show you another little trick that I've discovered. So first of all, you need some sticky back plastic, and you're going to tape it down to something that you can pick up and move, because you need to be able to bang to get the bubbles out later on. So it's something that you need to pick up. And here I am just pressing my barriers onto the sticky side up, sticky backed paper. So I've seen some people, when they've put the moulds on, they bend the edges of the sticky back plastic up around the edges to stop the silicone escaping, but I don't really like doing it like that, especially because I use round barriers and it doesn't really work. So I use glue gun, hot glue gun, and just seal up all the edges, and I leave it on when I'm pouring my mould, just in case I notice any leaks and it's seeping out, that you can quickly wipe them away and quickly dab some glue on and it stops it leaking. And I find it just works much better to do it this way. And here I'm just, if you look, it's just gone out of the screen, but I'm making a barrier just out of glue, just to show you that you can make shallow moulds just using glue gun as a barrier. It's not very professional looking, but if you're only doing it, for your own use, it doesn't matter. So here I'm showing you a small crystal which I want to make a mould out of, but the problem with it is it doesn't have a very large flat surface, and to use the technique I'm showing you with the other moulds, it's just not going to work very well because your hole in the top of your mould will be too small. So what I've decided to do is stick the crystal into some clay so that you've got a bigger surface area on your flat surface when your mould's finished, and you'll see what I mean a bit later on. So I rolled out some air drying clay and stuck the clear plastic cup that you can't really see very well onto the air drying clay. You don't need to use your hot glue for this one because it forms its own seal, and I'm just pressing the crystals into it. And then I'll pour the silicone rubber over the top, and you will get a much bigger surface area on your mould. And here on this one, I've put my different stones that I want to make moulds of onto the sticky back plastic. They're not sticking very well. This technique really does work better with flat objects, which is why I've just stuck a button on that one, just to show you that it works better with flat things. But saying that, it does still work even if your object isn't flat. So now it's time to make our silicone mould, and I've measured 80 grams of the silicone base, the white one at the bottom, that's the silicone rubber. And it's 10 parts to 1 part, so 80 grams at the bottom and then 8 grams of the catalyst on the top. Obviously, if it was 90 grams at the bottom, it would be 9 grams at the top, and so on. And then you're going to be needing to mix it really thoroughly, and that's it. The best thing to do is use a clear cup, because you can see when it's thoroughly mixed, because it will be completely pink and there won't be any red or white streaks in there. I like using this one with the pink catalyst because it's got a long working time of 40 to 60 minutes, so you've got plenty of time to be working with it. And you don't need a vacuum chamber either. You can use a vacuum chamber to take out all the bubbles, but you don't have to have one. So here we are pouring on the silicone. I try to keep it quite still. I don't move around with it too much because I don't want to form any extra air bubbles. And here you see I'm giving it a good bang. Bang, bang, bang. Pretend it's somebody you don't like very much. And just keep manipulating it at the edges just to knock out any air bubbles as much as you can. You can also blow on the top. Once the bubbles come to the top, blow it and the bubbles should burst. I repeated the process for the other moulds as well, and it says on the bottle to leave for 12 to 24 hours before demoulding. I have to confess that I didn't. I'm impatient, but it seemed okay. But the advice on the bottle is 12 to 24 hours. But at room temperature, you don't want it to be a really cold environment, but all the details are on the bottle. And here you can see, because it wasn't a flat object, the silicone has formed around a lot of the surface of the stone, but that's okay because you can snip it away. And you'll see that that's what I'm doing here. I take the stones out and I snip away the edges. And here you can, with the button, I'm just using a knife to take away the excess before I try to take it out. Buttons are a bit fiddly. So you'll see that the one that I used the clay for, it looks a lot better. It's a lot neater and more professional looking, so I'll definitely be trying that one a lot more often. The only thing I would say though is make sure you wash the mould after you take the clay off and before you pour whatever you're going to pour into it, because I found it harder to get the stones out of the one that I'd used the clay on, and I don't know if it's something to do with the clay residue. I poured some resin into the moulds just to demonstrate how it turned out, but you don't have to use just resin. I've tried it with plaster of Paris and stone cast plaster as well, and that works really well in these moulds too. The definition is pretty much duplicated. I haven't really zoomed in enough to show you the detail, but it's really the mould has really picked up the detail of the original items. I did get, if you can see, I don't know if you can, I got a bubble in my resin for the button. There you can see a bit missing out the button. That wasn't the mould, that was me with the resin not getting rid of the bubbles well enough. I think it was late, that's my excuse. Well, thank you for watching all the way to the end. I hope you found it really useful. If you enjoyed it, please hit subscribe in the middle and click the bell so you get notifications. I've got more videos coming up where I will be using more different kinds of silicone moulds.